Hi there, welcome to Transco Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through 2016 Jayco. We are just going to start off in the back left corner. If you pull on this bumper cap, pops right out of place. At that point, that is where you insert your sewer hose. We do have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, which is why there's not one in there yet. But after your first use, it's going to be the best place to keep it. In this corner, as well as all four corners in the unit, and then this particular unit does have two in the center. You have 6 stabilizer jacks total, and the way they work is you just take this 3/4 inch drive nut, run the foot down to the ground. Once the foot contacts the ground, just giving it an 1/8 turn to snug it up. It's going to take any bounce or sway you see we have in the unit right now away. And just a special note, these are stabilizing jacks, they're not leveling jacks. Please don't try and use them as so. Otherwise, you do run the risk of bending them. Coming up ahead, get your hot water service port. So if you just move that little holder into the middle, you can flop this guy down. You got 1-inch drain bolt right down there at the bottom, so if you want to drain the tank, that's going to be where you do so. And then you get this little pressure relief valve. Given it that pull, there should be a shot of water coming out of there, letting you know that the tank's full. This tank currently is empty as it's the middle of winter here in Manitoba, so that's why there's no water coming out of there, so it wouldn't be safe to fire up right now, and you would run the risk of burning it out. To my left, you do have a black tank flush, and the way that works is if you're noticing false monitor panel readings, or it's just good to use it after every dump, as it just helps breaks down those solids even more. You have a black tank flush. It is just very important that you read the caution sticker and know that you do have to have the sewer hose connected and the black tank valve open. And the reason being, if you're pushing pressure inside of that tank and the pressure's got nowhere to go, it could expand that tank to the point of cracking. You got your 30 amp extension cord. Typically, you can plug right on in, but we do include a 15 amp park adapter. Just keep it in mind whenever you are using it, you're not going to be able to run your air conditioner. City water connection, so if you're at a site with service, you just throw a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines without the need to run your water pump. And then you got your furnace exhaust, which of course blows out hot air whenever it's running. You got your first sewer dump, black valve right here, so that's going to be one of your main ones that you're going to want to do first. This is going to be your dirtiest water. If you come up a little further ahead, you do have that second stabilizer jack, and then you're going to have that gray valve way back there. That's going to be one you're going to want empty last. It's a little bit cleaner water. Storage compartment does go right through to the other side. Around the front of the unit, you got your battery located inside that box there, but because again, it's in the middle of winter, there's no battery in there. Underneath this cover, typically you can get what you need done just by loosening off these tabs, move them out of the way, flip and open that cover. But for the purpose of the video, and of course, because at some point you're going to have to take this off, just slide right out of place, nice and easy. Then you get your 2 30-pound propane tanks. With the regulator pointed this way, you're obviously drawing off this tank, so counterclockwise like any standard barbecue. If this tank were to go dry, you do just have to close it off, flip this over to the other side, and then you can start drawing off this tank. Again, this is going to be the other side of that storage compartment that goes right through. You got a couple plugins on the outside. You got your main entryway door, which will be the one we will be entering through today. A couple plugins on the outside, and then you do have your fresh water fill. So if you're out boondocking or your campsite just doesn't have water, that's going to be where you can fill it up. If you come and stick your head right down below here, you're going to find your fresh tank drain, and then right below the floor, you get your 2 outlets. Those are low point drains. And then last, this is just going to be an entryway door for the bathroom. It gets its own entrance in case you have guests or a party or whatever. And then in this big compartment, it is just an exterior kitchen. Pretty much self-explanatory. You got that big fridge right there in the left-hand corner. Just keep it in mind, it does only work whenever you're hooked up to shore power. Now, for the best part, to take a step on inside, you're just taking that assist handle, pushing it up, folding it 90 degrees. It's going to make it lock into place. That'll allow you to hold the stairs down towards you. Then you can open up your door. Once you take a step on inside, first thing you notice off on the left is that fire extinguisher, which is just like home. Pull the pin and shoot. And then up on the wall, underneath, behind this, door number 1, you got a couple different light switches that turn on some main living space lights so that you can see what you're doing. The one to the right of that does do the awning light on the outside. You get your monitor panel system, so pushing the button tells you the corresponding level. Water pump switch, turning that on does draw out of your fresh tank. And then you got your water heater options. If you turn it on gas, it's going to try lighting itself 3 times. Making sure you have the system purged beforehand. I'm going to go over purging once we get to our stove is extremely important when firing it on gas. But if it doesn't light the first try, always turn it off, give it about 3 minutes, then try turning it back on. If you want to fire it on gas, you just hit our electric, you can do so. It's just extremely important that you do make sure that the tank is full, because even if that probe does fire for a few seconds out of water, it will burn itself out. Right down below, you got your LP detector, because this unit's equipped with propane. If that guy ever starts going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply at the front of the unit and open up some windows and vents. You get your awning control next. Push and hold the out button. The awning's going to start making its way out. Once that awning does reach its full extension, you're going to see the back of the metal tube and a little flap hang down. You can see that sometimes that flap does get stuck like it did there. So you might just have to retract it a couple feet. Sometimes they don't always come down. You got to manually do it. So that's probably what's happening here, but you know you're at your full extension. Now, if it were to start raining, you can take any arm, front or rear, pulling it in towards you, loosening off this, pulling it in towards you. That does change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now, if you like that angle better, of course, because it allows for more shade underneath, you do the same thing with the front arm. Just make sure that you do allow these back to their natural resting positions before you bring the awning in. To bring the awning in, it's as simple as holding the in button. The awning's going to start making its way in, and once the arms do contact the side of the trailer, the motors will automatically cut out. And you get your slide out control right next to it. Before you ever run your slide out, again, it's always a good measure. Just do a quick visual check inside and out. Make sure there's nothing that's going to get caught in between the slide out and the wall, and just nothing that's going to run the slide into. Again, you're just going to push that button. The slide out's going to start making its way out. And once the slide out does reach its full extension, you're going to hear the motors wind up and click. Now that does go exactly the same thing for that rear bunk as well. The rear bunk room has its own slide out, works the same way as this one. And you hear that motor reach its full extension, so now you know the slide out is all the way up. In here you get your entertainment center. It's pretty much just like home. And then inside the bedroom area, it's your classic bedroom space. The lights are going to be just on its own center push button here. If you pick up at the foot of the bed, it does give you access to a storage compartment underneath. It is a pretty massive storage compartment. It also goes into the front storage compartment as well. Anything you want to put in there is a great option. Just, of course, there's tons of storage in this unit. Whenever you are using any of it, it's always a good idea just to keep in mind it drains water lines and wiring. You're not going to be wanting to affect any of that. Of course, on both sides of this bed, you do get plugins. On the left side, though, you get that fire exit, which works pretty much just like home. Pull this tab, the screen's going to pop right out of place. At that point, you take this handle, push it up, push it out, and hop on out of the unit. In this slide out area, you got a pull out couch that pulls down into a bed in case you had some extra guests that didn't fit inside the bunk space. Same goes for the dinette. Just take the table, the little legs underneath the table, pull them out of the way, set your tabletop on its desired ledges, and then you just take your back cushions to fill in the center. Tons of accent lighting throughout. Most of it is on its own center push button, so you're going to kind of find it as you're using the unit, and of course feel free to use it. At the back here, that is just a bunk space. I'm not really going to go into there too much, just because all it is really a bunk space for the kids. On the wall here, though, that's where you get the slide out control for that, and then right down below you get your thermostat. Now whenever you're using these thermostat to fire either the air conditioner or the furnace, I always say it's extremely important to always run that auto fan setting. It's going to be the best fan setting as it creates an on-demand system. So if you have the room set to 70 and it's currently 80, once the room reaches 70, it'll automatically kill the air conditioner. If it wasn't like that, the fan would run continuously until you actually manually turn it off. Other than that, it works pretty much just like home, but just know that if you do have that higher low on the on setting, the fan on the air conditioner will continue to run until you actually manually turn it off. That even goes for if you do fire it on heat. Heat is its own entity. It's its own furnace. It only has one fan speed, and again, it runs off propane, so purging is going to be pretty important. The air conditioner does run off electricity. It's above my head here. You can either run these louvers open to cool the main living space, or you can close them off to push the air throughout a little bit. Intake filters right here. It's always a good idea to give those a blowout every once in a while. Then into the kitchen space, again, it's going to be pretty much self-explanatory. You get tons of storage. Microwave, range hood. I always recommend running a range hood whenever you're running your stove. And now, since we are to our stove, I will mention a few things about propane. The way the propane system works is if you turn the system off the front, or of course disconnect one of the bottles, it does allow air into the system. Once air makes its way in, it does have to be purged out. Quickest, easiest way to do that is by firing your stove. As soon as you get to your campsite, I tell every customer I speak to this, just because it just makes firing everything else that much easier. But because it's a gas stove, you're going to want to be very careful whenever you're doing it, and of course being safe. Hold your face back, and as soon as you do turn on the gas valve, making sure that you're ready to hit that igniter every few seconds, because the way it works is air is going to keep pushing out, and it's not going to light, but as soon as gas does start flowing out, if it's allowed to build up a little bit, and then there is an ignition, it does cause a little ploof and a minor combustion. And if your face was nearby, you're probably going to lose your eyebrows and eyelashes, and your significant other probably be pissed. So don't do that. Make sure you tell them to hold their face back. Maybe you need to watch the video, and you see if you turn it, it does fire right on up. Now that's only because I have the system running earlier. Sometimes it can take a few minutes, so just be patient with it. To get the oven to light, it's pretty much the exact same thing, minus the fact of needing either a match or a lighter of some sort. If you turn it over to the pilot option, push and hold the knob in, you would then put your lighter near the gas surface right here at the back. Once that pilot was able to light and stay lit on its own without you actually pushing in on the button, you can turn it up to your desired temperature, and it does fire right on up. Of course, I forgot my lighter today, so we can't do that. Breaker panel, whenever a breaker trips, it'll sit in the middle, so you just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. All your corresponding fuses will be on the right. And speaking of my right, brings me to our fridge. It's a propane electric fridge. Not so common this day and age, so it is nice to have that propane option. I always recommend running it on the auto setting. Now, when I say purging, most importantly, the purging is for the fridge. If you ever go to light this on gas, don't just walk away. Maybe wait around for 5 minutes just to make sure that it actually does light, because otherwise if you walk away and it threw a fault code and you either had a lot of food in the fridge or you were leaving the next morning and your fridge isn't cold, you're going to be pissed. Your significant other is going to be pissed. Your kids are going to be pissed. Everyone's going to be pissed. So just be careful whenever you do go to fire it on gas. Just stick around 5 minutes. Make sure it actually lit. If you want it to run solely on gas because you're out boondocking, you can just flick it over to the gas option. Again, if it failed to light, this little yellow light would come on. It'd probably be beeping at you, and it says check gas. Temperature setting on the right. Other than that, fridge freezer combo. Right down there, that's one of those portals I was telling you for the furnace. And then in the last door, it is your bathroom. It's a pretty standard bathroom, light switch right in front of you. You get your own little entryway door in case you had guests that were coming in and out as you went to bed. You got your main GFI plug. 90% of the plugs do run through here. I always recommend, if you have an outlet that doesn't work, just double check that the system isn't tripped. Now that is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.